Hello to all movie lovers on the channel. The Film Vault. The Film Vault is your personal treasure trove of cinematic masterpieces, television shows, and everything related to the world of film. The movie Dune, Part 3, is much closer than we could have imagined. Recently, Denis Villeneuve announced that the return to Frank Herbert's world will happen a year earlier than planned. Additionally, the fourth installment is already in the early stages of development, and a new director has been found for it. Today, we'll share the latest news from House Atreides, discuss the change in the production team, and the future plans for the franchise. Get comfortable, because it's going to be as interesting as always. Let's start with the fact that, according to the original plan, there was supposed to be a long break between the second and third parts of Dune. The thing is, Denis Villeneuve had mentioned that he wanted to take a break from working on science fiction and focus on another project. Only after that, with renewed energy, would he dive back into continuing the story of Paul Atreides. However, just the other day, the director confirmed that he had changed his mind. The success of the second film, along with positive reviews and audience acclaim, showed that interest in Dune hasn't waned. Therefore, Villeneuve feels a responsibility to the fans and doesn't want to stretch the trilogy out over many years. For this, by the way, we are very grateful to him. According to new insider reports, filming for the third part, subtitled Messiah, could begin as early as this summer, meaning Dune. Part 3 might hit theaters around 2026. However, this is unconfirmed information, as Villeneuve recently shared his thoughts on working on the third part in an interview and mentioned that the script isn't ready yet. It requires special attention to detail and an understanding of the philosophical themes embedded in the book. The director noted that Dune Messiah is a darker and more complex story compared to the first book. It focuses on the consequences of Paul Atreides' actions and how his decisions impact the universe. Villeneuve admitted that he is inspired by the opportunity to explore themes of power, religion, and morality, which make this book so unique. However, he also emphasized that adapting the second book is a kind of challenge. The work is filled with internal conflicts and reflections that are difficult to translate to the screen. The director noted that his goal is to preserve the depth of the original while making the story accessible to a wide audience. This requires meticulous work on the script to ensure that every element of the film, from dialogue to visual effects, conveys the essence of the book. Therefore, it's hard to believe that filming will start as early as this summer. Villeneuve also mentioned that it's important for him to maintain continuity between the films. He wants Messiah to be a logical continuation of the first two parts, developing the characters and plot lines established earlier. This includes further exploration of the relationship between Paul and Chani, as well as the fate of the people of Arrakis. The plot will be based on the second book in the series, which tells the story of the consequences of Paul Atreides' rise to power. The story becomes darker and more philosophical, delving deeper into themes of power and religion. This promises to make the film not only visually stunning, but also more dramatic. By the time the third film begins, Paul is no longer just foreseeing the future. He is the emperor of the universe. He has loyal followers, and the Fremen support his war, which leads to the deaths of billions. At the same time, Paul is trying to prevent the destruction of all humanity while avoiding assassination attempts from enraged royal houses that envy his power. Meanwhile, things aren't smooth within his family either. At the end of the second film, it was announced that Princess Irulan would become his wife, as it's the only way to maintain his hold on the throne. But she opposes him and even tries to prevent Chani from bearing his heir, since Paul doesn't allow Irulan to carry his children. Despite the fact that in the second part, the character Zendaya decides to leave her beloved, this won't be permanent. This moment becomes an important turning point in her story, needed to show her independence and disagreement with how Atreides manipulates her people. Her departure on a sandworm symbolizes not only her physical but also her emotional state in relation to Paul. However, in the third film, Zendaya will get much more screen time than in the previous part, as Chani plays a more significant role. Her character becomes key in the development of the plot and Paul Atreides' arc, therefore we'll be seeing much more of her. In the interview, Villeneuve also touched on the topic of a time jump that will occur in the sequel. In Frank Herbert's book, about 12 years pass between the events of the first and second parts, meaning the filmmakers will have to account for the actors' ages while maintaining the integrity of the story. The director admitted that the time jump is an important element of the plot that cannot be ignored. In Dune Messiah, Paul Atreides is no longer a young man but an experienced ruler who faces the consequences of his decisions. This requires a more mature approach to the character, which Timothée Chalamet will have to embody. Villeneuve noted that he is confident the actor will be able to convey the age and depth of the saga's protagonist, even though the real time gap between filming will be shorter than in the book. At the same time, it has become known that the production team is considering various options to organically incorporate the time jump into the film. Of course, this doesn't mean replacing the actors, but rather using makeup, visual effects, or even changing some elements of the plot to make the transition smoother. The main goal of the creators is to preserve the emotional core of the story, even if it means adapting and altering some details. Despite the fact that work on the script has already begun, Villeneuve emphasized that the project is still in its early stages. He didn't specify exact timelines for the start of filming or the release of the film, noting that it's important to dedicate enough time to preparation to create a worthy continuation. Overall, the director's comments instill optimism in Dune fans. His approach to adaptation demonstrates respect for the source material and a desire to create a film that will be not only visually spectacular, but also profound. Villeneuve has established himself as a master of large-scale cinema, and his return suggests that the film will retain its visual power. However, despite the optimistic news about the start of filming, there is no official confirmation from the studio yet. The production start date may change, especially considering the challenges related to the actors' schedules and the preparation for such a massive project. By the way, Denis Villeneuve has long stated that the third Dune will be the last film in the franchise that he works on. While this could easily be attributed to the director wanting to work on other projects, it actually speaks to the complex nature of Frank Herbert's sequels. The book Dune Messiah concludes Paul Atreides' storyline, and the next part, titled Children of Dune, becomes even more complex, with different characters at its center, which poses challenges for adaptation. By the time of the fourth book, the story follows Paul's son, Emperor Leto II, who merges with the sandworms, becoming a colossal being. This is not only difficult to visualize, but also presents narrative challenges, as much of the story involves foundational philosophy that doesn't fit Hollywood blockbusters. Each subsequent installment jumps further and further into the future, making it difficult to track events as thousands of years pass. However, it was recently revealed that Warner Bros. Has already found a director for the fourth installment. They want Gareth Edwards for the role. Information about this appeared simultaneously from several sources, so it's likely reliable. Edwards is a solid candidate. Behind him are Godzilla 2014, one of the best Star Wars films, Rogue One, and the upcoming Jurassic World, Dominion. Given that Villeneuve immediately declared he would only direct the trilogy, replacement options have been considered for several years. Edwards has proven he can create epic scenes, craft thoughtful dialogue and plot, and knows what will appeal to audiences. Therefore, he will likely handle the task well. He hasn't commented on this information yet, but for us, it means the gap between the third and fourth films is expected to be minimal. It will be interesting to see how the subsequent books are adapted, given all the outlined challenges. Additionally, the Dune universe is expanding on the small screen. The epic prequel Dune Prophecy, which tells the origin story of the Bene Gesserit Order, will continue in a second season. HBO Max announced this immediately after the first season concluded. The series received mixed reviews from viewers, but earned a solid 70% freshness rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Prophecy follows in the footsteps of other HBO hits like Game of Thrones and its prequels. Given the abundance of events that can be depicted in the project, no one doubts that Prophecy is unlikely to be a one-off miniseries. Throughout the first season, it was clear that the creators are trying to turn the project into the next epic franchise. Rumors suggest that the second season will receive a significantly larger budget to rival the scale of House of the Dragon and The Rings of Power. By the way, those who have watched it, let us know in the comments what you think of Dune Prophecy and whether it deserves to be called the spiritual successor to Thrones. As you can see, the franchise is in full swing. Many believe that the third Dune could be released in December 2026, as the studio has reserved a slot for the film's release. However, given that the script isn't ready yet, this seems overly optimistic. Most likely, The Mandalorian and Grogu or the next Star Wars installment will be released around that time. In any case, we're waiting for the official announcement and the start of filming. What do you think about this? Share your thoughts in the comments and give this video a thumbs up or thumbs down. Subscribe to discover new dimensions of your favorite movies and dive into the fascinating world of cinema with us.